Surely here, Jupiter, our Sirius Dallas moon, Sirius point of Dallas, and Jupiter is with Sirius now in the 8th house. What's 22ing? Oh my God, Netherlands! It's the Lot of Fortune on the Lot of Fortune of Netherlands. So I was opening with an Israeli story, and this was the lady that was invested in weapon industry during the peril with Iran. A missile fell next to a couple of buildings from her. Her mother was very sick. I think she died. I don't know. And then she was holding her child and thinking to herself, what the heck was I talking about with all this financial freedom, with all these things, with all these advices I was giving? She felt not being able to write about financial responsibility and being sovereign with the finances and well invested anymore. And I take that not as judging, but it's something that happens to all of us where we reevaluate things. And the thing is, weapon industry is not in itself good or bad, but of course that missile, when that missile drops on a couple of buildings away from you, then okay, then that's something that happens with weapons. Okay, one of the things that I'm very invested to is the type of weapon that causes death with the least amount of suffering, also for execution, because the excuses people have around execution, again, in United States there are countries where there is execution, and the excuses is that, oh, this is such vile murderer needs to pay and so on. Also when it comes to the Epstein rings and so on, but the way they make these criminals is with such tremendous torture that is what is needed is euthanasia, if ever, or at least to stop the abuse towards them, because maybe they can actually freaking recover when the abuse is stopping. And this is an idea that people also need to have into the mix. Okay, because the very systems that create mind control can actually create sovereignty. Okay, it's top down and emergence when we talk about consciousness. That was Elliott Smith, 2015, when I was writing my thesis proposal, not the musician Elliott Smith, but the one that talked about design and so on. And he talked about the design as a part of consciousness. And he was simply telling the truth, because he was landing on a ritual that is done on how to design the consciousness. He explained the levels of consciousness with the sciences in a way that is fascinating. So now we're going to upload the video together, and I want to talk about, I'm not going to say names. There was a Dutch ex-banker that was tending to the currency issue as well. He was ritually abused, and he still had to do crime, and because of things, very criminal stuff he was involved in, he may have had to try and traffic me, and that included something that was very little to my life. And the reason I talk about what I talk about with banking is knowing something. I don't have a synastry, and so this is it's going to be one of the well channels. Yes, I'm going to take the other channel as well. And the issue is, when it comes to synastry, the problems that every people have, company or whatnot, even if this is those problems, okay, because this person was ritually abused, he was tortured, he went to ND to get out of the cult, and then I don't know what happened. Maybe there was susceptible to mind control or whatnot. And that's the problem that that corporation suffered from, because he was tending to currency and so on. And I talked about housing first, okay, because it's tending to the real estate. We can't do the currency without tending to the resources and the real estate. And so there was a ritual abuse that I almost died. And it's something to do with the Skulls and Bones Society. So one of the sevens, okay? And so this is what the problem that we had. The talisman that I did for Uranu Beta per se was actually very supportive of the nervous system. The things that came about that is the building of cities not based on ritual satanic abuse, building of wealth not based on ritual satanic abuse. Now I understand when that person talked about that they exposed themselves to a lot, and the fact that I was okay, supporting that idea, exposed to a lot. There was another talisman that had to do with currency and the gloved hand, and that talisman was incredibly misused, very likely also against its creator. The point of these things is to create division and chaos, so to take over. And so I want to authentically share with you that experience, so those of you that come to those trajectories, okay, the moon is conjoining Uranus again, and it is about it is about dealing with those challenges. And I know that usually what doesn't work with one synastry or with one corporation, if we put it to, hey, we didn't manage to do that. This is an open question. This is an open initiative. This is an open. Okay, it is something that is open for people to try and get at, because many people are very likely, many bankers are very likely interested in not having to participate in ritual satanic abuse, regaining their sovereignty, not having to get into organ harvesting and organ trade, but also when it comes to the technology, not having to do the surveillance and to trade people, not having to traffic people or be involved in trafficking of people, tending to the places in them that whether they developed sadistic qualities, and remediate that in a way, because it's sadism is as well as masochism is a wealth block. Okay. There's excess exposure to pain. There's some pain that we deal with as humans. Okay, if I work out in the gym, then my muscles are a bit hurting, and I enjoy that. It's fun because my muscles are working themselves. But if it's excess, then it's a wealth block, because it's something that is, okay, not really supportive of life. And so, okay, so that is. Yes, so the issue of people being entrepreneurial, and that person had a shadow of that, okay, and so but you have to understand that people, when it comes to those betrayal calls, people they need to betray the people that they love or the people that they appreciate. So it's also something that we need to understand, that betrayal is not necessary. Okay, I have fair banking next to Sedna, and understanding Sedna not as the necessary betrayal, but rather as if we have the betrayal, then we lost the village. And it pertains with the minerals, and that pertains with all the things that now also Navo is dealing with. And there was attempts to juxtapose that banker with Mark Rutte, okay? So one of the personalities, okay, and this is a ritual that is done externally. It's not that these two, they have this cult of personality. They have to be the person that they to think in a certain way. So when it comes to banking, think like a banker. When it comes to military, think like a military general, and so on. Have inner peace, no, that is not my video. so, so I'm talking about that because those rituals, they're done 4 times a year, and I want to open the opportunity for people to tackle these problems. So what you need to tackle, the problems you need to tackle, is the people within those betrayal cults. They fear being tortured, even to death, if they talk. Okay, even after coming out, then they don't. The people of the 60s, some of them had, oh, my psychiatrist, my this, my that. Today, no longer. So, so yes, the problems are genuine problems. When it comes to the betrayal cults, so if they like somebody, they need to betray. If they work with somebody, they need to betray. Okay, so we are dealing up against now one points of interference. Um, if you do ritual, turn it against a structure, not a person. Okay, so when somebody try to divide, talk about the structure. Um, okay, Uranus is conjoining Sedna right now, and that was the missing thing. That was the missing thing. The touch on Sedna. Um, Sacrifice. No sacrifice to your rituals. Okay, but this is important. The wisdom from the talisman of the Beta per se. It was at first humanity is told that everything is doom and gloom, that humanity is the lizard. Okay, the first lizard that is quicker said humanity is doom and gloom, but it was actually the lizard that wanted to tell humanity that it is going to be saved, but it took that time to arrive, and people got the message of the mockingbirds, okay, of the quick lizard, rather than the actual message of the lizard that talked about humanity is going to be saved, because the mockingbird was afraid to lose. Okay, and there was all these rituals. So when you do manifestation, you make a manifestation to dissolve for these ritual abuse practices, and to support people that are curing from ritual abuse, that are embarking away from those trafficking cults. And these are bankers, okay? You understand that that's the job. The, okay, and these are people that need to do the job in a way that is actually benefic to humanity. Then they need to deal with all of that dumbfuckery. And this is why for these rituals happen and these tortures happen. And so, with the support, the people that inside that want to stop the ritual, and people where they have at least a bit of consciousness, if they're forced to do ritual or whatnot, set the intention very clear to make that harm the structure that causes the ritual abuse. And not allow, okay, for these things. And also people are afraid that that is heavy karma coming to them. No, when we transmute that to benefic structures, we basically tend to the karma. And this is the times where the teeth of the children do not suffer from the sins of the fathers, because people change they stop doing those rituals. And it's not about, okay, we stop doing rituals, we don't do rituals. No, we do set intentions, we do work with the manifestation, and we add for not to have that been turned against humanity. Okay, and again, and people are persistent with that. So, but the megalithic amount of people that want out of those trajectories, whether it's people that are in risk of trafficking, people that escape these cults, people that they try to traffic them, people that go from outside of the cult and dealing with those trajectories, people that just wanted to open a business and like, why is this not working? Or people that tried manifesting, it's like, that used to work, what happened? Okay, that is the next phase for to make the generational wealth actually benefic for humanity, and then it doesn't wither by the third generation. Okay, so I hope that this was useful to people. I don't have synastry. I know the talisman that I was working at the time was the Venus, was the moon Uranus bisextile, but the bisextile was in Pisces, Taurus, and the still Capricorn and later Aquarius. Now we are in the age of air, and now I'm incorporating, okay, Sedna into the mix. Um, okay, so well, and so yeah, some people say the person, this banker, was a cloned person. Again, the topic is not of person cloned or not, but the topic is that they went through ritual satanic abuse, and all that they did to heal was meeting tremendous, humongous blocks that try to keep them trapped in, and they work on. But this aspect, whether people develop sadistic tendencies because they went through so much abuse, whether people are susceptible to mind control, and many things, okay? Um, and and that is okay, part of the things that happen with that. Um, but you also need to understand that there is also a tempus fight, in the sense that yes, people are fearsome for how should I say that, the guillotine and all the. So that was the time where the Rothschild lost significant amount of the family to persecution. There was a time of everybody blamed the Jews for Bolshevism and for capitalism, and this is because the Jews funded for Bolshevism and for capitalism, but usually they didn't take the Jews that actually, they took some of them, but mostly they took the common day person. And yet when the common people, they also need to change what the rituals that are done, whether it's about wedding and how they celebrate, or ritual satanic abuse that people participate in, and so on. And some people have dissociation. Right now, so that you know, even in Israel, tremendous conversation about ritual satanic abuse. What's happening in the Chlaot by Israelis to Israelis, the connection to what's happening in Gaza, the why the war is not actually yielding security for the people of Israel. Okay, so those things are also happening within Israel. People, and I will tell you a news that from the news of Israel, they talk about a person that made hasbara, and everybody knows what hasbara today. And they made hasbara, and they said everybody begins to, the most difficult people to market the fact that Israel is not doing genocide are Israelis. So I want you to, okay, and I'm not saying, I cannot reveal my personal worldview around that. I also don't tend to that, because I tend to the bigger issues and the worldly issues that any local thing is a study case of. And so while I combat people that do voodoo and hoodoo to try to burn me, this entire episode is being recorded. And so, and okay, and I put it out there for the people to know about that, because a lot of you thinking, oh, the Israelis are this or that. No, actually, the hardest people to market the Hasbara to are Israeli people. I didn't know that. Okay, so this is something that you also need to know. So I gave you, I hope, a real appraisal of the challenges. And it was a Moon Uranus issue. It was a Beta Persei issue. It was the issue of the bisextile. So the outer planets, it's Sedna and it's Aries. Okay, the issue of inclusivity and the issue of Sedna. Okay, so those are the outer planets. And it was tending to all these things that I said. I'm going to very likely maybe do another video to try to analyze, okay, deeper what went kaput with that, okay. And also it's the issue of the skulls and bones. So the skulls and bones is a secret society, and they're doing those rituals, and the rituals done on me were also to do with the bones and to try to take my creative power. And they used that banker, or that banker was okay. I don't know what happened there, but if you think about on a general level what didn't work, so those were the issues. Okay, both of us were trying to make something that is alternative to something that's also involving for the skulls and bones, and it's a secret society. I think JFK was from what they call the deep state. Okay, so JFK was also from that, and he wanted to basically, they said, he assassinated him because his the operation that he was involved in did not yield. So this operation was supposed to be enslaving humanity. That didn't work out. And then not only that didn't work out, he ended the Cold War. and and he didn't want the secret societies to be persecuted. At first I didn't understand, but the secret societies, they are funded by those skulls and bones folks, and and what you call the Illuminati. Okay, so now Rothschilds fund for them, but I actually pitched to the Rothschilds to have improvement on the rituals. They began to market themselves as like, no, we don't do human sacrifice in the Illuminati, and so on and so forth. But you see, people expect is the money line, and that is Tom, Dick, Harry, Henriette, and people with Chinese names that we don't know to pronounce, and everybody, black and white, expects that that they live a good life, free, safe, and free, regardless of anything, and they don't have to change their religion, and they're not practicing human sacrifice, and nobody is sacrificing them. Okay, so people, you see, when somebody was sacrificed, and everybody's going to look for blame, and then like the Rothschilds are going to be blamed, and then the Illuminati are going to be blamed, even though voodoo and hoodoo is indigenous practices. Okay, and so this is important. People care. They want to see the money line. They want to see to make a life while making a living, to have happy lives. And this is when they're going to be convinced. This is when they're going to be convinced. They're going to be convinced the Illuminati is not doing human sacrifice when everybody is living good. And then there's no point would be to persecute for the Jews for that, or for indigenous people for that, or the church for that. Okay, because if it's not done, there's nothing to. The people don't experience spiritual welfare, and they don't experience voodoo and hoodoo done on them, and they don't experience, okay, with all these horrid things, and they're not trafficked, and they're not traded. Then basically what happens is that they begin to restore faith. Okay, and so this is yes, both to the old world families that are rejuvenating practices, and everybody is rethinking their practices now, and to the new the third generation of world families and the new world families. Think about your grandparents, because you're the third generation of that, and what they deal with, what you deal with, and now what would you can try to predict what would your grandchildren deal with. And I put this out there so that you will have a real testimony of the people that tend to that from all echelons of society. JFK tended to that from within the seven, from within the deep state, from within the skulls and bones. And all those people that are litigated for human trafficking. And I did not understand why was so important to him, so that the secret societies would no longer be secret, would no longer be persecuted. Yes, because they were funded and their rituals were funded by, okay, well, the upper echelons. Now, yes, Rothschild, Rockefeller, but even if you replace Rothschild, Rockefeller, or if you are the third generation to Rothschild or Rockefeller, then this is yes, important to know. Okay, there is a big market for wealth that is actually benefic to humanity, and doesn't have to do those rituals of to control or enslave. Okay, actually, the wealth that enslaves is bringing persecution and is awakening from within entire humanity. So those things, while Mars is still within the kite shape with the bisextile, okay, and for those of you that are dealing with the spiritual warfare, okay, what you're dealing with is the fact that the spiritual practices are funded by human and child trafficking and organ harvesting, and the rituals around that, and this is why your deliverance prayer doesn't seem to yield, or whatever practice doesn't seem to yield, because you need to tend to that. And now you have more information where you can tend to that. Okay, and so that that the wealth is practiced, and also so that you will not operate within so that you will operate within a mindset of abundance, and understand that what was negating that was actually curses that in themselves perpetuate their own demise. So I hope this leaves you in a better situation, and I hope that I've managed to both tell you about the challenges of rejuvenating wealth, and again, it's not about not wanting the big wealth. It's about the big wealth being more benefic to humanity and more distributed in a way that is benefic to humanity. Okay, because I would say equal wealth redistribution. Not everybody, I like, I don't know, cocoa maca, and another person, I don't know, likes something else. Okay, I need air condition. Another person can't deal with air condition. Okay, so the solutions that are good for all of us, and there's solutions that are individual. Also for the moon nakshatras, there are many moon nakshatras that can have intricacies within them that's colliding creative powers, and this is something that okay, very likely needs to be mitigated. How it's going to be mitigated, I don't know, but so that people can create okay, for people to have the liberty to create okay, to create new things. Actually, the moon nakshatra of the currency, yes, won't hope to try to burn me. You're not gonna get wealthy by that. To consume me neither won't help you. I mean, if you have like a euthanasia that is dissolving in the body, then after I die without suffering, you can eat the body, and then you can have a better transition. Then that is okay. But if you try to consume me for my talent, then you are ruining yourself. And to attest to that will be the people that try to do a destiny swap with a targeted individual. So. Okay, so that's not a recommended practice. Okay, to think about the fact what you want to have for you, then many people want. Okay, and I'll leave with a tip that I got from a mermaid stealth wealth talisman that a person who brought talismanic materia back into the colloquial discourse, and that is Christopher Warnock. And he talked about wealth, and he said the best place to hide a leaf is in the forest. And if you think about how to store our generational and intergenerational wealth, we better have entire humanity very wealthy, because that's easier to hide the fact that we got away with enjoying wealth that is actually wealthy, that is actually sensual in a way that is sovereign and respectful of sovereignty. And yes, in today's society, it's something that you actually need to get away with. So Sirius will be rising tomorrow, and I know what my wish is, and it's a good time to make a wish on Sirius. We didn't manage to completely free Mama from the mafia, and I'm not broadcasting from a mega yacht. Yes, still haven't abolished slavery and sex trafficking of children and raping children, what people call pedos, entirely. But I definitely tender to that. And I sip coffee because I ran out of cocoa maca instead of pineapple and lychees. But it's no reason to stop wishing, because definitely I am investing my energies in places that are way better for me. And the fact that I'm no longer invested in the person that my tenet would go to further human traffic people is a blessing. And that I did not fund that type of thing, and that my setting boundaries, even in the energy or spiritual realm, shocked a lot of people that try to make people guilty for setting a boundary. No. So right now, let's see what is. Yeah, Jupiter and Venus are still in the 8th house, very likely. So Venus turned to the 19th degree, so we might have a talisman. Right now is in the 8th house where I am. Those who want to do a Sedna talisman, then it's okay. If you have good election, it's okay to do Sedna talismans today. It's okay to do Uranus and Gemini talismans today. For me, not so, because Mercury is weird, but it's personal. Okay to do Jupiter, Venus talismans today. Particularly for people who have Moon in Kritika Nakshatra, or Nakshatra that is not to do with the navel. And look at this Saturn on the world degree, about to ingress into Pisces. So yes, all of us went through tremendous terror, tremendous abuse, in spirit and in matter, because even in spirit you feel that on your body. And whether it's people within the cult, within the seven, within the secret societies, within the skulls and bones, outside the skulls and bones, the children that survived, the children that didn't survive, the books that survived, the books that were burned, and that doesn't stop us to to be more reasonable, and to do away with the practices that cause tremendous suffering over nothing. So thank you for listening.